I was sent by a friend. Go to the bell tower. You will find a gargoyle who can help you.
Thanks, convenient apparition guy. A gargoyle who can help. That could only be you-know-who.
Welcome back to Darkened Skye, where we've just gotten a convenient reminder of where we are and what we're doing here. We're still in the gargoyle realms, meeting gargoyles, and now we've got a lead on where Drac might be, which is something, not just bumbling around uselessly. But what we are doing is fighting more vampires. And they continue not to have their coffins, so he'll be back. And what we've got right in the beginning here is a bit of a branch. They seem to like to do that in these levels. You definitely want to go this way and figure out that this door is openable. And then start killing people. Because in this room is a purple Skittles. We absolutely cannot progress through this part of the level, or in fact the level in its entirety, without this purple Skittles. So it's a rude awakening if you miss this thing. Why we need 3 purple Skittles is because we have a new spell. Cleanse Evil, which permanently kills the undead. We're going to use that to get rid of these vampires that no longer go to their coffins. Yeah. Rest already. Why won't you rest? There we go. Look at him now. Not so tough anymore. That said, it can be very easy to miss that particular Skittles. And very frustrating. And now we got something of a very standard level ahead of us. The gimmickry of solving poems to open doors is a thing of the past. What our current gimmick is, and what was hinted at with a little note at the beginning of this area, is that our lantern now has a percentile underneath it. So collecting the black vortices is no longer good practice. It is required to progress through this level. Also very important is to look up as often as possible for these symbols. When you see one of those, the door underneath of it is openable, and usually has black vortices inside. Once you figure out these very simple gimmicks, this level's a breeze. But they are very, very poorly explained. They're basically designed to trap first-time players to spend a needlessly long time here. I believe one of these doors we can get into, and it's optional. We do not need that green Skittles. But once we come in here, a bunch of vampire noises start because they've spawned in outside. For some reason they can't get in here. But it's just the one. Very easy to deal with. Cleanse Evil does exactly the same amount of damage as the Polar Pulse, so 3 hits and they're done for. Oh, but we do have a new enemy. These are crystalline guardians, made of stained glass. Luckily, even though they are not undead in any way, they are highly susceptible to Cleanse Evil, so we don't have to constantly switch our spells. That would be a way to add another layer to this level, but it would be a very frustrating way to do that. So I'm glad they did not. One thing that's not so obvious about the Crystalline Guardians is that they are completely immune to all other spells. Only Cleanse Evil works on them. And they have pretty high health, so it takes some doing to take them out for good. And currently we only have 3 of the purple Skittles, so we cannot conveniently magnify Cleanse Evil at present. There's the door. And they pulled the same trick, where they send us into a closet and then spawn a bunch of monsters outside. But in a very Diablo-esque fashion, if you're in a doorway, you're pretty much only vulnerable to one monster at a time. That was the old trick in Diablo 1 that made that game almost playable. There we go, that was the last Guardian, guarding this. It's got a bit of a gimmick to it. Probably should have come here with my lantern not completely full. I believe you get a note that says, go fill your lantern. And try again. Perhaps it'll show up at the next door of this sort, because there are more than one. Basically, this is the equivalent of the poem gimmick from last time. Not quite as strong. And I'm screwing around outside this doorway because there's a boss fight inside that I'm going to prepare for right now. That should do it.
Cleaned up all the nasty things, eh? Not quite. This time I won't be so easy on you.
Yes, you will. Amplified Ring of Rhyme is way more than he can handle. Oh, never mind. Spoke too soon.
That's one butt-nasty seal, and it's blocking the door.
There we go. I took that humiliating death and turned it into a teachable moment. And a nice voice clip from Skye that we would have missed otherwise. I'm glad I died. That's right. I meant to do that. Gotta just collect the rest of the vortices again. Fight our way back to that room. And then kill Armor Man once and for all. Got plenty of health potions. And in fact, they're gonna start throwing them at us like they're candy. In the Skittles game, hard to believe, I know. Prepare once again. Saw how well that worked out last time. And get ready to kill. The only thing is he starts out mid-attack, but as long as you take even the least effort towards evasive action, it's pretty easy to survive. And there we go, he's dead. All of his plot lines will remain unresolved. And it's for the better. No one cared about them anyway. And onward to this spiral staircase, which is actually a loading screen. On the other side of that loading screen is an elaborate church. Looks rather nice, actually. It's going to require me to get out my exorcism spell again, because these things inexplicably immune to everything else. Yeah, I really wouldn't mind if they were at least susceptible to the Ring of Rhyme so I could take them out more quickly. And we just were able to amplify the Ring of Rhyme like one level ago, and already it's completely useless. Except against bosses. So once again, we want to go around collecting black vortices. They're going to add another layer to it, because as we can see, we cleared the room. There's no one else here. We're safe to just grab these things that are floating around, move on with our lives. Except, picking up black vortices will spawn in vampires. So you don't want to do it too quickly, or you'll get overwhelmed. And some of them don't spawn in anything. That one would have been a good opportunity. We were cornered. Could have just came in and crushed us. It's almost like they play tested that part of the game. I know for a fact they didn't, but it's like they did. So in addition to health potions being very plentiful throughout the rest of this level, throughout the rest of this world really, we'll also be getting a lot of Skittles. An unnecessary number of Skittles. Way too many Skittles. More than we could conceivably use. It's kind of a waste. Would have been much more useful earlier on. We're going to get to play with spell combinations that we've never been able to use before. But they're not terribly useful because everything's immune to basically all of our spells now. That's right, I'm complaining about being given artifacts of immense power. Because they're not immensely powerful enough. What I would have liked is if... Because you know how when we first got our very first Skittle in the opening cutscene, that orange Skittle that started the entire game... Skittles, sorry. I was off-brand for a second there. It upgraded Skye's staff into a weapon, because previously it had just been a tool. Maybe if every time we got a new type of Skittles, like when we first got a red Skittles and then yellow Skittles or whatever the order was, every time we got a new type of Skittles, it could have upgraded our staff again, and then melee combat wouldn't have been completely frustrating and useless most of the game. But anyway, that's me trying to fix a game that has been out for, what, 15 years, and no one played it, so... Oh, look at me, subtly preparing spells again. What could that ever mean?
You're persistent. I'll give you that. Like a boil that just won't pop.
Back for more, Big Talker. This time he is a little bit tougher. He's got about half health after 2 amplified Ring of Rhymes. There we go, dead again. Surely you still believe me that he is indeed dead and gone for good. Because last time I was proven so honest. And this area is the bell tower, which we are told to go to by a mysterious voice. Oh, and we've got a new spell. Wind Glide. That is going to make this area interesting, if nothing else. They're starting us off with pretty intense combat. These glass monsters are fairly challenging. Oh, and they put black vortices around as traps because they summon in vampires when you touch them. So we gotta use mana potion. That's not what the mana potion's for. Okay. Ready to go. Ready to kill the undead. This is a responsible representation of violence in video games. Our victims are supernatural creatures, wholly comprised of evil. And that leaves us alone in a large and mostly broken down series of staircases. Can't get... Oh, I didn't think you could make that jump. That's convenient, because it gives us enough Skittles to cast Wind Glide. For some reason in my practice run, I had to climb this staircase up to about that platform and then jump over to this staircase. I could have sworn I tried to make that jump a lot of times and it didn't work. Oh, it's not actually touching the vortex that summons the vampire. It's just getting in proximity that pulls the trigger on that one. So that's kind of interesting. That changes my assessment of the level, because it was previously kind of frustrating to figure out just how we were supposed to get around. And this should be the last stop, honestly. This part where we get the Wind Glide Skittles. Because these staircases don't all interconnect. This is the one that leads all the way up to the top of the tower. But the rest of these all have vortices around. So we can go to the top of the tower, but it'll just be a dead end if we don't explore everything first. Gotta make sure we actually touch the vortex. It's getting more and more difficult for some reason. Parts of the floor are broken out, so it can be hard to navigate in such dark conditions. We can look out the broken wall back of the city. Would have been kind of cool if we could explore the city. Here's a jump you can make. This is the jump I usually use to get to that Skittles in the first place. Start gliding around. Speaking of which, it is about time to glide, as we have explored all the side staircases. So, can't get over there just by jumping. We need to first collect all of our red Skittles. I think that's enough. Throw them all into Wind Glide, and hope for the best. It's a very, very lazily programmed spell, which nonetheless leads to some interesting level design. Oh, why am I using this spell? This is not the correct spell. That guy's gonna come back. The thing about Wind Glide is it gets to be a lot to process mentally, for me at least. Because now we have to swap spells in order to make progress. We have to navigate very thin platforms because we can technically sort of fly. So they expect us to compensate for that. It adds previously unseen challenges, which in the final world of the game, that is welcome. It's not just, look at this different character model for this enemy that you've been fighting the entire game. I think we can even make this jump. I should definitely risk it because I have a spell that allows me to fly, so why use that? This part is repetitive, unfortunately. The actual acquisition of the key. But here they do something kind of interesting. They make us Wind Glide over there, because the overhang will cause us to miss the jump and fall to our death, if we try to do it without the Wind Glide. But it also causes us to not be able to get over the platform until the spell wears off. It only lasts a couple of seconds, so if you're not used to it, you will fall to your death a few times. I certainly did. So despite the simplicity of the mechanic, it's got a certain charm. Ugh, that doesn't. Don't care for that one bit. Alright. You know, I was worried about this part of the level coming across as too easy. Because it is a bit of a step down in difficulty compared to the rest of the game. And for so late in the game itself, I figured it should at least compare in terms of challenge to the likes of Stonehenge and even Ogmire, really. Doesn't always do so, but when it does, it gets me killed on video. Now we just gotta get over there. We can see the door, and we're at 90%. The final vortex is over by the door itself. So what we can do to get over there, there's no staircase conveniently leading there. We can jump back to this platform, or die trying. I'm surprised I survived. Now we gotta make our way back. But without the enemies, it's a straight enough shot. A little more about Wind Glide. Basically, it does nothing as long as we are on solid ground. But as soon as we go higher, for example, by jumping or walking off the edge, we won't lose altitude until the spell wears off. So it's a weird thing to get used to. I've never really seen a game do something so dumb, but they make good use of it. And final vortex. Almost jumped off the staircase, using the incorrect spell, doing everything right in my life. You know, I bet you could soften up vampires with the Polar Pulse and then finish them off with the Cleanse Evil, and that would work. But that's too much work for me. Anyway, to the top of the bell tower to rejoin Draka, we've been promised. Nay, boss fight. And not with the armor guy. With a super glass demon. A buff glass demon. Made out of glass muscles.
This is the gargoyle that can help me? But I thought it would be Drac.
Bit of a spoiler there. But the only gargoyle up here is not Drac. Kind of a shame. But anytime Skye gets her hopes up, they're inevitably crushed. Because this is a game about Skittles. Taste the rainbow and feel the pain. I wish I had a mana potion. I have a mana potion. Prepare to die, crystal guy. Satisfying.
Oh, you've done it again. I suppose your tenacity shouldn't surprise me, given your origins.
What would you know about that?
Dorian's not the only one with secrets. By the way, have you guessed his true nature yet? Well, if he won't show you his, I'll show you mine. But first, you'll have to find me.
Gross armor guy. Super gross. I am just glad he didn't start a second boss fight on top of the last one. But there we go. That is the end of this level. We'll have to see what this gargoyle has to say to us. And it's going to require Awakened Stone. And let's get a bit of plot about what's going on here in the Gargoyle Realms and what our next move is.
Oh, these muscles feel positively geological.
What happened to you?
Necroth happened. Gargoyles can turn from stone to living creatures at will, but he cast a spell to trap us in stone form forever. You see, we were the chief guardians of the rainbow. We never would have let him usurp the rainbow as he did. Can you free the others as you have freed me?
I'd like to see you try and stop me.
The Freedom Bell! Hop aboard!
Objective number 1. Find a little guy with a very big mouth. Goes by the name of Drac.
I'll see what I can do. We've freed the last of my stone brothers.
The last? But what about Drac?
I'm sorry. I hoped we would find your friend.
Uh-oh. Something strange is happening.
The black vortices! They're condensing into a black hole! Hang on! It's a one-way ticket to Necro!
So we saved every single gargoyle off screen and still didn't find Drac. So it's time to go to the deepest depths of hell to look for our friend and finish Darkened Sky.